We're joined by Audacy NFL insider Mark Schlereth, host of the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Listen to the Stinkin' Truth podcast now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Mark, it's Pat Boyle, Brad Evans, brother. How's the podcast going?
Podcast is going great. You can get it on YouTube as well if you'd like to watch it. But things are great, and obviously these playoffs have been absolutely unreal, tons of fun. So that's been really cool to be able to break this stuff down, talk about it. And last weekend, I was at the divisional round of the playoffs, doing some stuff for the Broncos, and the atmosphere was just absolutely outrageous. It was great. What a game!
Yeah, hell of a game. Hell of a game. We got some questions that we can get into in the game itself, but it feels like, now more than ever in these playoffs, if you lose as a head coach, you may lose your job. And Mark, it didn't happen today. It was yesterday, but 3 weeks in a row now, you're on our show following a major coaching dismissal. Yesterday, Sean McDermott let go by the Bills while GM Brandon Beane gets a promotion. I think that's the wrong move by the Pagulas and Bills ownership. But do you think McDermott getting fired was justified? And where do you think Sean McDermott lands next? Because he's made it clear he wants to keep coaching.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There he gets right back in the cycle, and we've seen that. And it's funny. I've talked to GMs around the league, and there's been some success with first-time coaches. Obviously, we've seen it with Ben Johnson. We've seen it with Mike McDonald in Seattle. So really cool stuff. But most of the guys, the consensus I get talking to guys just that are GMs is, hey, man, it's really hard to win with a first-time coach. And one of the reasons is because they have a real tough time putting a staff together. And so that's like you saw it with McDonald, right? McDonald had the offensive coordinator from Washington. 1 year, he fired him, went and got Clint Kubiak, and now they're in the NFC Championship. So, you've got to be able to make the decision to be able to pull the trigger if the guys, you hired originally aren't up to snuff or aren't doing what you want them to do. So I think that's part of that execution. So Sean McDermott becomes a guy that is very viable. Now, I understand why he got fired. This is a results-based business. The narrative out there was this is the time for Josh Allen to take the Bills to the Super Bowl because you don't have to go through Lamar. You don't have to go through Joe Burrow. You don't have to go through Patrick Mahomes. So this is where the best quarterback, in the AFC playoffs, the best quarterback that's still there, a guy that's had a ton of success in the playoffs. This is where he's got to shine. And ultimately, I thought Josh Allen he was not very good. And up to his standards, just not very good. He missed a wide open TD pass that would have ended the game to Dawson Knox. The pass that got intercepted early by P.J. Locke was just a really horrible throw. And I'm standing in the suite with Peyton Manning. I'm standing in Peyton Manning's suite, and he goes, Peyton just hits me and goes, you throw that to the corner of the end zone, it's a touchdown. You leave it in the middle of the field, and you let the safety get back in play on it. And then, the throw that got picked off to Brandon Cooks, that throw, if you throw that to the sideline, that's a touchdown. I mean, he's got that DB beat by 2 yards. You throw it back into the middle of the field where the DB can actually make a play on the ball and get the interception. So there's another one. And, and ultimately, I look at Sean McDermott. What are you doing calling a play for your quarterback with 16 seconds left in the first half after the Broncos just scored a touchdown? You take a knee, you go into you go into the locker room and you regroup. And part of my issue with McDermott has been over the years when the going gets tough in playoff games, it almost feels like they quit coaching. That staff quits coaching and just goes, hey, Josh, go win us a game. And they don't take the responsibility. And that's what that felt like at the end of the first half to me. So it didn't surprise me that he got fired. He's won a lot of games, and they've been to the playoffs a lot. But that's not their goal. Their goal is to get to a championship, and it's a results-based business, and he hasn't been able to get them there.
Yeah, definitely. Mark, Brad Evans here, and let's talk about the Denver Broncos. And maybe we're going to be in the suite again there at Empower Field with the great Peyton Manning. So let's zero in on that Championship Sunday matchup. It was the highest highs and lowest of lows for the Broncos last week. Of course, they got that exhilarating OT win against the aforementioned Bills, but then learned right after the game from Sean Payton that Bo Nix is done with a fractured ankle. How can the Broncos spring another upset, this time against New England with Jarrett Stidham now at the controls? Where can they take advantage of New England, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, we keep talking about Jarrett Stidham, and I understand why. And the broken ankle and the way Bo played, Bo Nix outplayed Josh Allen. There's just you just can't argue it. But I think the thing that's really interesting to me is I'm far less concerned about Jarrett Stidham than I am about the Broncos defense. They got run through. I mean, run through. And I went back and broke it down. Went back to look at the coach's film on Sunday morning. I sat in my kitchen and broke down the whole game. And they the Buffalo Bills out schemed them, out executed them, out blocked them. I mean, it was a clinic in running the football, and then it was a clinic in creating opportunities for your receiving core who was down. I mean, they lost several different guys, and yet they had all kinds of stuff schemed up where if Josh Allen plays better, they probably hang 50 on the Broncos in that game. And so we're all focused on, Jarrett Stidham, and what are they going to do? Jarrett Stidham's been in this offense for 3 years. Jarrett Stidham has played really well throughout the preseasons. He just hasn't had any opportunity in the regular season. Jarrett Stidham in 2022 played really good if you go back and look at that film. This is Sean Payton's guy, and Sean Payton has had a lot of success when Teddy Bridgewater took over for an injured Drew Brees and won 5 games, when Jameis Winston became his starter and went 5-2 in 7 games he started before he tore his ACL. They'll have a plan offensively to execute and have success. I'm worried about the defense. And this defense has been leaking oil for about the last 5 or 6 weeks. And had it not been for the 5 turnovers and a couple of those on just poorly thrown balls, and then the fumbles. Had it not been for those 5 turnovers plus 4, and you win, 30-27, literally, the Buffalo Bills probably should have scored close to 50. And that's where my biggest concern is, hey man, if you design a blitz and you can't get to the quarterback, and you're leaving your guys in one-on-one coverages, and like if you can't get to Drake May, because Drake May has fumbled the ball I think 6 times in the last 2 games. Like that to me is, if your defense can get to him, you can create turnovers, you can create short fields, you can create multiple extra opportunities for Jarrett Stidham in this offense. But if you play like you played Sunday, and your inability to stop the run, and let me just tell you, New England's got 2 running backs in a scheme where they can run the ball. That's my biggest concern. Everybody's pointing to Jarrett Stidham. That's not even. I mean, that concern pales in comparison to what I feel about this defense right now.
Mark, you talk about the Broncos defense. Let's flip the script and talk about New England's. Their defense took Houston's strength really to it last week, ramping pressure, creating turnovers, and ratcheting havoc. Is Terrell Williams' unit terribly underestimated in your opinion? And what kind of schematic deployment do you expect against the Broncos?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're a 5-man front. There's exactly what most teams are playing right now, a 3-4 that really plays out like a 5-man front for the most part. And like I just love their front 7. I think their front 7 is outstanding. And they probably don't have that elite level pass rusher like Houston has or like Denver has, where like the Nick Benitos of the world or the Will Andersons, Daniil Hunter, that type of thing. So they probably don't get the credit, but Landry's a great pass rusher. They've got a couple other guys off the edge that are really good. Milton Williams is phenomenal. Barmore is great. You know, they've got a big, stout front seven. Christian Ellis is flying around making plays. Robert Spillane the same. And then they've got two corners. One guy is an elite guy in Christian Gonzalez, and the other guy in Carlton Davis has always been a productive guy, long, tall, got just great hands. And ultimately, like, their defense is probably one of the better defenses in the National Football League, but nobody talks about them because nobody really knows their names. But those guys are outstanding. One thing I know about Vrabel, having played against him and having watched him as a coach, man, there's two places they're going to win games. They're going to win both offense and defensive lines of scrimmage. They're going to dominate that. And this Patriots defense has been phenomenal, shutting down the run, dominating the line of scrimmage, and getting those pass rush opportunities. They're outstanding that way.
We're talking with Audacy NFL insider Mark Schlereth right here on BetMGM tonight. Pat Boyle, Brad Evans, Westwood One Sports. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. Mark, I saw you tweeted the other day during the Bears-Rams game, quote, "Good thing you passed up on 2 early field goals. 3 points just don't matter," end quote. I think for a lot of games in the playoffs, going forward on 4th down, it's become too much, even for me. And I love the aggression when it's warranted. I think we need the pendulum to swing the other way. When you look back at that game 10,000 feet above, do you think Ben Johnson's coaching decisions ended up costing the Bears the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I do. The 3 points are valuable, from a momentum standpoint, in that kind of weather. Matthew Stafford completed less than 50% of his passes. Those points are valuable, and like that stuff from a psychological standpoint, I think it affects you as a football team, and obviously from a point standpoint, it affects you. And I understand the process of it, but the thing that math doesn't do, and I always goof around with the analytics. Math has never made a tackle. Math will never block anybody. It doesn't work that way. But when you put and compile all these statistics, hey, when should we go for it? When should we not go for it? What is the percentage of us, scoring here or picking up this first down? It doesn't take into consideration, hey, man, so far we can't block this 3 technique or this defensive end, or, hey, man, the field conditions are really crappy. Hey, this ball is freezing and it's wet and I'm having a tough time gripping it. Like, math doesn't take into consideration any of that stuff. And so ultimately for me, especially come playoff time, when these things are going to be tight, like, take the points. And I just – like, those things drive me crazy. We've just gotten so far away from the value of the kicking game and the value of 3 points. And we're like, well, the next time we're down there, we'll go for it again. And, eventually we'll score a touchdown and it'll be 7 points instead of 6 points. And I just look at it like we've gone way overboard on this. Let's go for it every down and show how aggressive we are. And we don't get criticized, because we're going to be aggressive. And I just think it's, especially come playoff time, I think it's the wrong approach.
Wow. That points there on the field, to say the least. As a diehard Chicago Bears fan, I tend to agree with you there, Mark. Mark, in the NFC title game, the Seahawks are forced to absorb a significant offensive blow with Zach Charbonnet out due to an ACL. I honestly feel that Kenneth Walker III is one of the most underrated backs in the league. Against a weakening Rams run D, they've shown some vulnerabilities here down the home stretch. Do you feel Walker and Seattle's Trench Warriors are going to be big offensive keys for Seattle to survive in advance?
Yeah, I think Walker, I'm with you on Walker, man. I think that dude I think he is so solid. And the thing, he's always been kind of a battering ram, right? Like, he is that. But I'm telling you what, from a vision standpoint and understanding that run scheme, when to put your foot in the ground, when to go get yourself a nasty 4, when you can break it outside and take it to the corner. And the thing that blows me away about him, because he is such a thick, good-looking physical dude. He's got a lot more speed than I thought he has. It's like every time I watch him, I go, damn, he's freaking explosive. So he's big time. I think there's a couple of things. Obviously, Seattle's playing unbelievable defense. And, their whole match zone principle becomes man when somebody comes in your area. Their tackling the last couple of weeks has just been phenomenal. So you dump one off underneath to, Christian McCaffrey, and you think, hey, man, we're running an option route. I'm going to throw it on the inside. He's going to catch the ball at 3 yards, and he's going to get 7. And we're going to be in 2nd down and 3. And then you dump it off to him. He catches the ball 3 yards, and he gets stuck and tackled there. And now you're still behind the chains because it's 2nd and 7. And so those things, they have been phenomenal. Anytime you dump one off underneath, it is instantly tackled, and there's no leaky yardage. This defense gives up 0 leaky yardage. And I tell you, it's so hard because you're constantly playing behind the chains. So that's one observation for me that has just been solid for the last couple of weeks, and it's one of the reasons they're so hard to compete against. The other thing they've done from a pass rushing standpoint is they really do a good job of attacking your protections, knowing where your slides are and how to get Leonard Williams one-on-one. And that dude's unblockable one-on-one right now. He's just unblockable. So they've done a great job with that. And then lastly, I'll say, I think Sam Darnold has shown unbelievable maturity and unselfishness. He took a couple of sacks in that game in the divisional game against San Francisco, where it was just like, instead of putting it in harm's way, sometimes, I'd rather you be able to throw it out of bounds, but when you can't, take the sack and understand how good my defense is. And he understands right now this defense is just playing at such a level that the only thing that can hurt us, the only way we're going to lose a game is if I turn the ball over. And you remember a couple, I don't know, it was a month ago or 6 weeks ago or whatever it was, the first matchup with the Rams when he threw 4 interceptions, and they still only lost by 2 points. Like Sam Darnold has taken that experience and go, hey, man, if I don't turn the ball over, we win. That's how this team is structured. And, that takes a level. I'm just a big Sam Darnold fan because, you go to the Jets originally, and nobody can win when they play for the Jets because they're that bad an organization. Then he goes to Carolina, and in Carolina, so he goes to the Jets, he runs Peyton Manning's offense. There's only one person in the history of the NFL that can run Peyton Manning's offense. It's Peyton Manning. So he has no success there. Then he goes to Carolina where Matt Rule's running a collegiate system, and he doesn't have any success there. And he's got an opportunity to go start somewhere else. He goes, no, I'm going to go get coached by Kyle Shanahan so I can actually learn progression-style offense, NFL offense. So he spends a year backing up Purdy, right, learns that, goes to Minnesota in the same offense called by Kevin O'Connell, and has great success there. They win 14 games. Then as a free agent goes to Seattle, and what he's doing right here, like that path and that journey and that humility that was gained over that time, I just have a lot of respect for what he has done just as a human and how hard that is when you're not playing great. And so really cool to watch his maturation.
Talking with Audacy NFL insider Mark Schlereth here for about another 90 seconds or so. Of course, 12 years as an NFL offensive lineman with Washington and the Denver Broncos. Mark, finally today, John Harbaugh was introduced as the New York Football Giants head coach. A lot of pessimism Friday night into Saturday morning from big blue fans here in Jersey and the New York City area where I'm in, that something was awry. And we've gotten reporting that it had to do with John Harbaugh reporting to ownership rather than GM Joe Schoen. Harbaugh confirmed he is reporting to ownership, and that's what he's used to, but the main thing is working together. How do you view those comments, and is GM Joe Schoen officially on the hot seat if things don't go right this year?
Yeah, I think everybody's on the hot seat. It's the NFL. You get fired after 1 year nowadays. So, yeah, and you should. John Harbaugh's had unbelievable success, and you've got to be able to create that relationship between head coach and GM. Ultimately, the head coach knows what the head coach wants out of a player position by position. And, I'll just take it to here in Denver. A lot of people thought when Sean Payton came to Denver that he was going to get rid of George Payton, the GM, because of the lack of success the Broncos had. And ultimately, it turned out to work out beautifully because Sean knows exactly what he wants, and George got put back in a role which was the best for him as kind of the GM/scout. And tell me what you want. What are the parameters athletically that you want from each position? And let me go give you a list of 12 guys that fit those parameters, and then let's work together to figure out what's the best fit for our football team from a football character standpoint and all those things. And that's the way that's the way it's got to work, because the guys who scout, and I had this conversation with John Schneider just this summer. He goes, listen, man, I don't know the X's and O's. He goes, I don't really care. He goes, I evaluate talent. I can look at the guys that guy fits or that guy can play, and then it's just about giving the coach the guys, that fit in the parameters of what they're looking for that fit our system. And so I think that's the way it should be, and that's the way a good tandem works.
Hey, Mark, we appreciate the time as always, brother. I know we went a little bit long with you, man, so hopefully we didn't delay your dinner plans. Good luck this Sunday to your Broncos. Can't wait to chat with you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
There you go. That was Audacy NFL insider Mark Schlereth, host of the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. Mark is the host of the Audacy original, the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Remember to listen to the Stinkin' Truth podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.